All right, so we got our second week of doing this. uh, pretty mm, decent week of sports. Obviously, we had the big one in the Super Bowl, so I want to talk a little bit about that. The Rams beating the Bengals. Obviously, we all saw it. What was it, 23-20? My prediction was 28-23 Rams. I was pretty close. I was pretty close. Come on. Um, uh, had a bet that almost hit, but I've now learned my lesson that I will, from now on, when I sports bet, I will no longer be including any running back stats into my parlays. So that's that. Um, Other than that, the game was very good. It was between two teams that I don't mind at all. I actually like both teams. They got likable players. Um, Obviously, it's two teams that we didn't really think would be in the playoffs, but or not in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl. But nonetheless, it was a very good Super Bowl. It was a very good game. Um, it was just a nice, relaxing Super Bowl to have this year, not having the regulars in it like Tom Brady or the Chiefs. Like I'm so glad it wasn't the Bucks and Chiefs, just so we can have something different. And it was really nice. It was just relaxing. Um, there was a couple of things to talk about from the game. I think one of the big ones was some of the refs' decisions. I know the T. Higgins touchdown where he grabbed Jalen Ramsey's face mask, that was pretty questionable. I think that was technically an OPI, but it's kind of hard to see in real time like that. I don't know. It's just kind of hard. And then there was the Cooper Cup pass interference. I think it was like Logan Wilson, the linebacker or whatever. That definitely wasn't a pass interference. There's just a lot of questionable, weird calls that the refs made, but I still think the Rams deserved to win. I'm very happy for Matt Stafford. That's the main reason why I wanted the Rams to win. Uh, Matt Stafford has gone through a little bit of trouble having to play in Detroit for the past decade, so I'm happy for Matt Stafford. I'm happy for Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Whitworth, all those Rams players that deserve it. Um, and one of the other, well, actually, I guess um, actually, I don't know. I'll just say, like, as for the performances of the teams, obviously, two really big pass heavy teams with really great receivers. Cooper Cup is just insane. Like, the season that he had was absolutely insane. He's just I don't even know how to explain it. Like he's just such a great receiver, and I'm so happy for Cooper Cup. He seems like such a hard worker, and he just deserves it for sure. I knew he was gonna get the MVP. Um, he had a clutch touch. He had the game-winning touchdown in the end. Like it just all worked out perfect for him and Stafford. Um, and as for the Bengals, like the AFC is really stacked with young teams, but I mean, who's to say that they won't be in the contention of the AFC Championship every year? Like their offensive line just kind of blew up in the second half, and I think that's what obviously changed and derailed the game for them. Burrow got sacked like 800 times just in the second half, so if you just like address some smaller issues like the O line and stuff, like you'll be fine. You have such a young team for the most part, like young stars on your team. So if you get that figured out, you're set. As for the Rams, um they're gonna have like most of the same team. It seems like so. I feel like they're pretty fine for now too. Um, One of the other big stories was a guy named Eli Apple. Now Eli Apple is a defensive back for the Bengals. He has got some criticism in the past for his play and such. and he was kind of chirping it up on social media to a lot of receivers and stuff, apparently, especially the Chiefs receivers who they just beat. And in the end, he didn't really have a good game as Cooper Kupp kind of destroyed him, scored on him in the very last touchdown. And after the game, Eli Apple got ripped apart. And I think it was just yesterday. Eli Apple posted about like fighting demons or something. I don't know. Some like inspirational stuff. I do kind of feel bad for him, but at the same time, like if you're gonna like do all that talking, I feel like you kind of have it coming. Like you have to be ready to be able to take all that criticism that you get in return for all the criticism that you're giving. Like there's a line where I feel bad for him, and then there's the line where I'm like, well, you kind of brought that upon yourself. So I mean, that's just part of the sports world, though. Like there's gonna be chirping all the time, and they do it all the time on social media. It was just kind of funny because there was a player like Eli Apple who doesn't have like a good like history of play, but he was actually having a decent season this year. It was just kind of funny, and he kind of got exposed and showed a little bit of his true colors in the Super Bowl. But that was just kind of funny, I thought. Um, but yeah, shout out to the Rams for winning the thing. Shout out to Matt Stafford. Glad he got a ring. There was a lot of conversation if he's going to be a Hall of Famer or not. In my opinion, I think he should be a Hall of Famer. But that's he has a ring now. I think he should be a Hall of Famer. But whatever. Um, it's crazy. He's in Detroit all those years, and then the one year he goes to the Rams Super Bowl. Like, there you go. Um, but yeah, shout out to the Super Bowl. Let's let's hope that the Eagles get to the Super Bowl next year or something. I don't know. I just I'm in all seriousness though, I'm just hoping for another good Super Bowl next year. Um but yeah, football's over. We won't have football for a while. So then we shift our momentum back to basketball and hockey. Um Rangers hockey is back. Rangers didn't play for like 2 weeks. Obviously we had the All-Star break. And then we had all last week off. We played Tuesday against Boston. I am not a fan of Boston, the Boston Bruins. They have some very unlikable players on their team, I would say. I think many would agree with me. Um, but Rangers, I was not able to watch all of the game. However, I was able to watch overtime in the shootout. Spoiler alert, they went to overtime in a shootout. And the Rangers ended up winning. Igor Shesterkin is the greatest goalie that man has ever laid eyes on. Igor Shesterkin was sent from the heavens, and I am so thankful that he is on the New York Rangers. He was making insane saves just in that short time period that I watched in the shootout in overtime. I obviously know he makes great saves all the time, but when I was watching, he was making a lot of good saves. And then so there was like this collision with maybe like a minute and a half to go, I want to say, or so. There's a little collision in net, and it didn't look like too terrible, but it was still like a collision. And Igor was like blinking his eyes, like he probably just had sweat in his eyes, and he was just a little shaken up. Like, come on. Uh, and then so he played. He got a couple more saves, and then like a minute goes by, I want to say, or maybe like a little less than that. There's like 40 seconds left in overtime. The trainer or whatever comes out and tells Igor he's got to go back for like concussion protocol or something like that. Apparently, they thought that he had some kind of injury, head injury, just because of like the blinking of the eyes and stuff, and just all that kind of weirdness. But I think that was just pretty normal. Igor was pretty pissed. Slammed a stick on the glass as he was walking out. The whole arena was pissed. Madison Square Garden was lit up. I mean, because Igor was just on fire, and then they take him out with 40 seconds left in overtime, and you put Georgiev in, who's obviously a really good goalie also, but he hasn't been playing at all. He hasn't been playing the entire game, so he's ice cold. Thankfully, the Rangers got out of overtime nice and safe, and then lo and behold, like Paul Pierce coming back out from the locker room, Igor comes out for overtime. This overtime goes to 9 rounds. 9 rounds. Or not over this shootout. His shootout goes to 9 rounds. And Igor absolutely dominated. We had a dirty goal from Zibanejad, a dirty goal from Panarin, and then the game winner from Keandre Miller, who I absolutely love. It's a fantastic win, and of course, it makes it even better beating the Boston Bruins. And then the Rangers played again Thursday night, to which I was not able to watch the game again until overtime in the shootout again. But actually, I was able to watch like the last 5 minutes of the third period, but nonetheless, it was only the end of the game again. The overtime was crazy. There were so many like crazy opportunities, and Shesterkin was making great saves again, and there was a lot of craziness going on in that one. I'm surprised the Rangers didn't win that one, but then it goes to a shootout again. So second straight game going to the shootout, back after 2 weeks. Shesterkin's obviously saving everything in the shootout pretty much, but the Rangers like for some reason could not get it going. Shooting wise in the shootout. Zibanejad did like the exact same move that he did Tuesday night, which is absolutely filthy. It makes the goalies eat dirt. But other than that, like they weren't doing anything. Even Panarin didn't score. I was surprised. Ryan Strome made a nice little move. The goalie dove out to poke and missed. And Stromer had a wide open net from a slightly side angle, but still a wide open net. And he missed. He missed. And not only did he miss, that would have won the game for the Rangers. And you know what didn't happen to the Rangers? They didn't win the game in the end. So that was pretty tough. I wanted Keandre Miller to go in just because I think Keandre Miller is pretty underrated, like offensive skill wise as a D man. And obviously he won the game on Tuesday, so I was like, oh, whatever. Put Keandre Miller in. That whatever. We ultimately didn't win. It's okay. Detroit's got a young team, but we definitely should have won that. But there's still plenty of hockey to be played, so there's my little Rangers tidbit. And so going a little more into basketball. Man, where do we begin with the NBA? There's just been one thing that just popped into my head was the Boston Celtics. They've been on a tear lately. I saw a graphic where they're like number one in defensive efficiency, I think, like in the NBA right now. They've won like 9 of their last 10 or something. Like ever since Jaylen Brown or something made a tweet, they've just been on a tear. I haven't obviously been able to watch them. I haven't been able to watch a lot of basketball at all. But I am a fan. Even though I'm a Knicks fan, I do like the Celtics strictly because I'm a huge fan of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They're two of my favorite players in the NBA. And I just love them, and I would not mind seeing them succeed, considering the Knicks are garbage. Which brings me to my next point in the NBA, which, oh, did I mention the Knicks suck? The Knicks, I have not been able to watch games this past week, but I know as of late, the past like week or two, RJ's been out. I know RJ's been out. Before RJ went out, he was on an absolute tear. He was tearing it up. And now Randall's actually not been playing too bad either. However, I just the Knicks have been losing to not very good teams. And not only that, they have been losing after the fact that they were up by 20 plus points in the game. Most recently coming on, was it Wednesday night against the Nets? They were up 28 points against the Nets, who do not have Kyrie Irving, they do not have Kevin Durant, and they do not have Ben Simmons. Hello? Are you serious? Like, you're going to blow a 28-point lead to the Nets, who essentially don't have anybody right now, like star-wise. I just want to give up on the Knicks right now. They're like 10 games under 500 right now. All-Star weekend is this weekend, but it's just not looking too hot for the Knicks right now. I'm not even certain that we'll get into the play-in game, which you only have to be the 10 seed to get into that. No, you don't. You have to be the 9 seed. No, you don't. You have to be the 10 seed. I'm tripping right now. I'm just so flabbergasted by the fact that the Knicks have been blowing such big leads lately. And the wins would be really nice right now, so we could try and get ourselves back into the play-in mix, into the playoffs. Like, after last season, we were the 4 seed last season. Like, what happened? Like, what is happening to this organization or this team this year? I don't know. I don't even know where to go. I'll address that after the season, I'd say, because I don't even want to like think about any signings or trades or any acquisitions or what should be done to the team right now. I'm just gonna let them play it out through the season, and then I'll make my decisions after that, I'd say, for what the team should do. But yeah, so the Knicks suck lately. And they did lose to the Nets, who I said they didn't have anybody out or in because they had all their stars out. But this does bring up a point in Cam Thomas, the guard for the Nets. He hit a dagger against the Knicks. He had 20 plus points. He's been on a tear lately, getting more playing time, obviously. And the funny thing is, every time that I want the Knicks to draft somebody, they end up not drafting that player, and that player ends up being really good. One of those examples is Cam Thomas. I made a little mock draft last year, and also I made like a list of like 7 players that I wanted the Knicks to draft with their 2 picks. And one of the very first ones that I was super high on was Cam Thomas, because I like to watch college basketball. Obviously, I watch the March Madness like heavily. I saw Cam Thomas at LSU. I actually saw a decent amount of LSU games last year for some reason, but because of that, I was able to watch Cam Thomas, and I saw how good of a scorer he was. And I thought that the Knicks could use a nice scoring wing guardish player. And I said that they should get Cam Thomas in one of those. And obviously now he's been tearing it up. And shoot. Yeah, he's been tearing it up. I'm trying to think of who else I wanted the Knicks to draft last year in my thing. I know I wanted them to get Cam Thomas. I was also thinking about Chris Duarte. I also low-key wanted them to get Trey Mann because I knew Trey Mann would drop, and he's been doing pretty good on the Thunder also. Like I wanted a scoring. Like I knew all these players could score in college and stuff, and now they're actually showing their ability, and the Knicks just didn't do it. And speaking of this, so the Knicks draft Obi Toppin, right? 2 years ago. You know who I wanted the Knicks to draft? This isn't just because I'm a huge Iowa State fan and I go to Iowa State. This isn't straight bias, but I wanted a nice point guard who can facilitate and is a smart player and can also score for himself. And you know who that player is? Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton is one of the, like I said last week, he's one of the better established young players in the league. Like he has all the intangibles. Like he has a lot of attributes about him. He's very mature for his age for a player. And I thought he would have fit perfect with the Knicks. Before we got Kemba Walker, we obviously had no point guard. Elfrid Payton was not the answer. We needed a point guard, and I wanted Tyrese freaking Halliburton. And Tyrese has been tearing it up. He can facilitate, he can score, he can shoot from the perimeter, he can defend. He knows what he's doing. He's a leader. And I thought he would have been good for the Knicks. But yeah, those are just a couple players that have been tearing it up that I wanted the Knicks to get. And speaking of young players that have been tearing it up also, let's talk about two players that were actually on the same team together that aren't anymore. And that being Anthony Simons and Gary Trent Jr. Two players that I really enjoy. I like the Blazers, obviously because Dame is like my favorite player in the NBA right now. And I really liked Anthony Simons because he was a super young guy that they took a chance on. And now, with the absence of Dame, Anthony Simons has been absolutely tearing it up. He can shoot the lights out. He's almost like, I just saw a clip where he did his little step back Dame move. Like he's like a little mini version of Dame. Like he's like a clone almost with the shooting ability. And like I was just thinking the other day with Gary Trent playing so well on the Raptors in his role, and I knew Gary Trent was so good. I have been saying when he was on the Blazers, I was saying how underrated Gary Trent was. He's a flamethrower as a shooter. He can defend and he can score. And now look, he's been dropping 30 bombs on the Raptors. And Anthony Simons is dropping 30 bombs on the Blazers. Now imagine they kept Gary Trent. Because when the Blazers traded Gary Trent to get Norman Powell, I was like, okay, Norman Powell is a really good player. However, you really want to give up the younger Gary Trent who can be something more than what he was. And look what's happening as he's on the Raptors now. And now the Blazers don't even have Norman Powell. Like, oh my gosh, imagine Anthony Simons and Gary Trent together. That's a nice young uh, duo to have on your team. The Blazers could have done that. They could have built off Anthony Simons and Gary Trent. They could have started rebuilding off those two. If this was their plan all along to get rid of everybody. Like, they could literally have Anthony Simons and Gary Trent. I know that they can still have Anthony Simons and Dame, but like I was saying last week, I just don't see the Blazers like getting a team surrounding Dame that can be okay. But yeah, Anthony Simons and Gary Trent absolutely tearing up the league. And I would just be insane to see those two together. Yeah, man. I've been saying Gary Trent is like that. Like, he's underrated, and I'm glad to see he's been flourishing on the Raptors. I'm also glad to see Anthony Simons getting the exposure he is now. You know, with Dame out and everything. So I'm excited for those players. I'm looking forward to All-Star Weekend this weekend. Let's hope Obi gets the dunk contest win. Dunk contest has been terrible lately, but let's see what they have in store this year. You know what I mean? Am I right? Actually, I didn't think about this before. I'm gonna make some predictions for the All-Star challenges. Because I saw a list of who was in the 3-point contest, but I don't remember who all it was. So let me take a look here. What is the skills challenge? Team rookies, team Cavs, team Antetokounmpo. I did see that the Antetokounmpo brothers were competing. I didn't really understand that, but okay. Come on. Here we go. All right, the dunk contest is Jalen Green, Cole Anthony, Obi Toppin. I forgot. Dude, I'm telling you, the Warriors have to be paying somebody. The last contestant is Juan Toscano Anderson, which the only dunk I've ever seen was the one he had over JaVale McGee, which was pretty nice. But he's not known for like his absolutely athletic dunking ability. As far as I'm concerned. That's pretty funny. But whatever. Dunk contest doesn't really matter. I think it'll be between Obi and Cole Anthony. And I honestly, like, no bias, I do think Obi's going to win. Just slightly. Yeah, that's my pick. I'm slightly going to edge out Obi over Cole Anthony. 3-point contest. Freddie V. Oh, Desmond Bain. Luke Kennard. CJ McCollum. Patty Mills. Cat. Levine and Trae Young. That's interesting. Dude. Dude, call me crazy, but I'm going with the underdog. I don't know if he's like necessarily an underdog, but he's someone that you wouldn't really like pick. I'm going with Desmond Bain. This is kind of a weird group this year. Like there's not like a standout like winner. Like they're all like good shooters obviously, but not like this, and there's not like a Klay Thompson in this or like a Dame. I think the top like 3 would be Desmond Bain, Desmond Bain, Trae Young, and I want to say CJ. But I think Desmond Bain's gonna win. I'm calling it right now. Desmond Bain. All right, and then we got this skills challenge, which is weird. Um, we got team rookies, which is Cade Cunningham, Josh Giddey, and Scotty Barnes, and then team Cavs, which is Mobley, Garland, and Jared Allen. Oh, that just reminded me also. Okay, and then team Antetokounmpo. I'm going to go with team Cavs. Just saying that right now. Yeah, team Cavs winning, calling that. And yeah, so that's it for the challenges. And as I was reading Team Cavs, I saw Jared Allen, which just sparked up a question because because as I was talking about last week, the All Stars and who I thought should be in for snubs. This past week, James Harden announced that he wasn't going to be playing, even though he's like practicing with the Sixers, but he has some hamstring issue. So they announced who was replacing him, and it's Jared Allen. I am surprised with the performance Jared Allen has had this year. However, I just I'm okay with him being an all-star, but it's the same thing as I was talking about last week. I still think that Siakam or even Jaylen Brown should be in there. I definitely think Siakam should be in there over anybody else now. Especially with Jared Allen going in like a big man, I thought that Siakam not getting in was disrespectful. And I feel really bad for Spicy P. But I also am happy for Jared Allen because I have nothing against Jared Allen. I just have my opinions on who I thought should have been in more. I just think Spicy P deserved an all-star appearance so much. But shout out Jared Allen. Shout out to the Cavs. They now have two young players in the all-star game, which is awesome for them. Got Garland and Allen now. But yeah, all-star weekend's always fun. It's a nice break for all the teams, especially the Knicks, because now I don't have to worry about them for the weekend at least. But yeah, no more football. There's plenty of basketball, plenty of hockey. Definitely going to be doing some betting on basketball. So, wasn't too much to talk about this week. Keeping it nice and short. Shout out Eli Apple. Shout out Eli Apple.